James,
Raf.
welcome to Down Round. Now, once again, the world has presented us with some ill vibes.
Yeah, vibes are bad out there.
In particular for us, obviously, because we are men of peace.
We're meant to, exactly. I've said this many times. And we're going to talk a lot about war in this episode. We're going to talk about conflict. We're going to talk about the evil that men do to one another.
Yeah.
In pursuit of territory and resources and status.
Yeah. Ego has a lot to do with it.
There's a huge amount of ego involved. And I just want to, as you flagged, very fairly, we are men of peace.
Mm.
So we're going to be talking about some relatively rough topics regarding military hardware, the future of warfare.
Yeah.
And I just want to know that you can't see it because it's a podcast and we're not recording video, but we're shaking our head.
Yeah, we're shaking our damn head.
The whole time we're shaking our damn head. And, and every now and again, and our producer will edit this out, we will pause, reflect and say, how the hell did it come to this?
Yes. We just reflected then, for the record. Yeah, war.
War bad.
It never ends.
War
bad. So let us start by saying that. War bad. Now, last week, or maybe it was the week before, I'm going to quote you verbatim. You said something along the lines of, verbatim, to paraphrase you, you got to hand it to Anthropic for lib-maxing in an era where bootlicking is the meta. Is effectively what you said.
I don't think I use those words, but as you say it, that rings true.
You said that maybe it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I think that was the topic du jour. 24 hours before America's military action on Iran.
Yes.
That was the only thing anyone was talking about was Anthropic.
Has lived out.
And like the based right versus the lived out AI company. I mean, that is real down around areas.
Yeah, no, it is huge. So, I mean, for those of you who are like, what the fuck are these guys talking about? They're men of peace. Anthropic. We'll shout out what we're talking about in this episode. So, as some of you may be aware, there was a huge blow up over the past week or so, bit over a week, which was Anthropic, which is one of the biggest AI companies on earth.
The makers of Claude.
Who make Claude and the Claude models. We're obviously a competitor to OpenAI's ChatGPT.
And for the record, I think we've always been pretty impressed with the Claude models here on
Correct.
Down Round.
And I think it's...
I mean, it's pretty universal, to be honest.
People now agree these guys are...
I think almost every benchmark pretty much universally lauded Claude and Anthropic for the last 2 years.
Correct.
So.
They are considered the cutting edge. And, some people prefer the OpenAI models, but they're certainly...
Some people prefer the Google models.
They do. But, it's... Claude is often one or two in whoever is ranking. Anyway, they got in a fight with the Department of War. Department of Defense for you guys playing along at home.
Yeah. I mean, in one of the more cringy things that has happened. Actually, I will... Brief side note. So obviously, last year, or not that long ago, Trump and Pete Hegseth,
the
Secretary of the Department of War, Secretary of War, whatever, changed the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War because, what's that tweet that has been forever? It's like the reason that everything is the way it is because everyone is 12 years old.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're 12.
Because you're 12.
Wouldn't it be cool to have it'd be awesome if I had if I lived in Dubai and had an awesome penthouse and a hot girlfriend and I worked at the Department of War.
Yeah, because you're 12.
You're 12.
Yeah, so this is the real, because you're 12 move to rename the Department of Defense to the Department of War. It's epic based.
It is pretty epic and based, although it is still technically a Department of Defense because it has to be changed by an act of Congress, which they haven't put forward.
Yeah, but sorry, what I was going to say, one of the more, I mean, it's not even annoying. It's kind of funny, actually, is seeing everyone who we're about to mention, Anthropic, OpenAI, keep referring to it as the Department of War, including now the DOW is what Sam Altman referred to it as.
Yeah.
It's just
sure,
we're just calling it that now.
Yeah, exactly. They won that battle. Obviously they got to suck up to it. But anyway, what you may have seen, and we're going to take you through the whole saga, is that Anthropic has been embroiled in this conflict with the Department of War and the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, about some few classic down round themes: artificial intelligence, the future of warfare, AI safety.
Yep. Being a lib cuck,
and effective altruism.
Effective altruism. Yeah, it's been getting a mention by D. Trump himself.
Yeah, bro.
Drop the words effective altruism on Truth Social.
That's fucked
That's
up.
crazy.
That
is so crazy.
That's fucked up. So, in this episode, the free episode of Down Around this week, we're going to take you through this whole saga. What happened, how we got to this point.
What the hell is all these words we're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Some of you, this could be your first episode. Listen to me like, what the hell are you talking about? You're men of peace?
Men of peace, effective altruism? This is a Buddhist podcast? You're damn right it is.
100%. Maybe not explicitly, but we agree with the teachings of the Buddha.
Yes, and I'm not going to get into sectarian issues of certain regions where the Buddhists may have not been men of peace at times.
We're going to leave that. We're going to leave that for another episode, I think. That needs a whole episode to talk about. Anyway, so we're going to talk about that. And on the paid side of the paywall, we're going to talk about there's some more tremors coming through in terms of AI and layoffs. And it's actually hit Australia. So there's a bit of Australian conversation. Yeah. Here we're talking about Block, which is Jack Dorsey's payments company that includes Square and a few other little bits and pieces.
Well, there's a lot of Australian connections here. I mean, they don't have any connection at all. But Block obviously buying Afterpay.
Afterpay, they have a lot of Australian stuff. But
and then WiseTech.
So Block sacked 4,000 people and blamed it on AI. WiseTech, which is one of the few big software stocks on the Australian Stock Exchange, they sacked 3,000 people and blamed AI. And also the Commonwealth Bank, which is our largest company, did not blame it on AI, but they did. They went through a little bit of controversy about sacking 300 tech staff and whether AI was involved. So that all brings it back to the question of
what's going on?
What's going on? Is AI actually causing job losses? So we're going to talk about it on the other side of the paywall. But for now, Anthropic versus the Department of War.
What is it good for, man? It's good for making money. They didn't mention that in the song.
So the root of this conversation between Anthropic and the Department of War is that Anthropic got into an argument, a long-running argument, with the Department of War about what AI can be used for in a combat scenario.
Yeah.
Or in the context of national defense and military use. Now, the interesting thing to go back in time and talk about is that now Anthropic have always pitched themselves as the AI safety company.
Yeah.
They spun off from OpenAI, as we've talked about in the past. Dario Amodei and a handful of the other co-founders and early employees were former OpenAI staff. They left because they didn't think that OpenAI was focusing enough on AI safety.
And this is pre-ChatGPT and stuff. Like this
is before OpenAI became big.
This is when OpenAI was still like
a research
lab that was basically focused on safety.
Correct, yeah. And these guys, at least at the beginning, and certainly some of them to this day, they come out of this effective altruism movement. We're not going to get.
We did an entire episode on effective altruism.
We did.
And effective accelerationism. It was like years ago.
It was ages ago.
It was years ago, but like very briefly, it's people who are very concerned with. Okay, I'm struggling to keep this brief, but I'm going to try and keep it really brief and jump in. So people who, to start with, were very concerned with how do you maximize goodness? How do you be as effective as possible
in giving
in like helping humanity?
Correct.
That's what like the original concept was. This led to various things from like saving the shrimp to mosquito nets to kind of everyone circling the wagons around the concept of AI.
It was basically a bunch of like autistic men and women who said, I would like to do good for the world.
Men, women, and
everything else.
And everything else.
Being like, I would like to do maximum good.
Maximum good for the world.
How can I make every single dollar I give to charity go as far as possible?
Yeah, basically. But they circled the wagons around. These are very smart people, very long posts on message boards with long reasoned replies.
The less wrong forums,
just like very long answers. And they kind of got around the idea that, well, hold on, if in the future a rogue AI kills everyone, future people's lives aren't worth less than current people's lives.
Yep.
So we should really be focusing all of our energy and attention on saving everyone.
And it was called...
Because obviously a future AI will kill everyone if in the wrong hands.
Long-termism was this idea, where they were like, future lives are worth as much as current lives. And there's a faction of the effective altruists who are like, forget the mosquito nets. The biggest thing in the world is making sure that we avoid future cataclysm.
Yeah.
And the biggest possible vector of future cataclysm is an AI that goes rogue.
Yeah.
Right? Turns everyone into paper clips or whatever.
Yeah, but this was a huge movement and inspiration within both OpenAI and Anthropic.
Yeah, exactly. The AI safety movement emerged out of this. Doesn't mean that everyone that's involved in AI safety is a effective altruist, but there's a lot of them around.
And well, yeah, it got its name was besmirched not by Elijah Yudkowsky and his goings on and his polyamory, but by Sam Bankman-Fried being a large sponsor of it.
Sam Bankman-Fried of
From
FTX,
FTX,
was
the now convicted fraudster.
And to link this in, Anthropic's like sort of, I can't remember what her job title is, like chief philosopher or something. That's wrong. But she runs all their like reinforcement learning, writes their constitution. Amanda Askell, her name is. She came out of, not only did she come out of effective altruism, she used to be married to like the main guy, William McCaskill. And she's the one who runs like all of the philosophical safety training stuff for Claude. So this is not abstract.
Yeah.
This is like built into the DNAs of these companies. And if you're sitting at home listening to Dan Rowd and thinking, this sounds like a bunch of fucking jacket off, I'm with you. We're both with you. But you got to know about it because it's like part of the intellectual lineage of all this shit.
I mean, Donald Trump mentioned effective altruism. Like, that's what we're talking about.
Exactly. And,
something the president mentioned.
Yeah, and Pete Hegseth brought it up in a tweet as well.
Yeah.
With the general vibe coming from the administration of like, we will not allow a weird Californian cult to tell us how we run our military.
Yeah.
And this is like the big thing. Despite all this, and despite Anthropic's reputation as the AI safety guys, they were actually the first in the door on working with the military. Before OpenAI, before any of these other people, and putting aside all the work that the existing big tech firms like Google and Microsoft do for the Department of Defense, they were the first AI company to be like on the front foot. Dario Amodei, CEO of Anthropic, was like, we want to be part, because he's also, you know, he is libbed out. He's like the most Democrat leaning of these big AI guys, but he also is clearly like, he hates authoritarianism, quote unquote, which means he doesn't like China, doesn't like Russia, doesn't like Iran, you know, and he thinks that AI should be part of like, you know, the arsenal of democracy.
Yeah.
Let's use AI to support democracy and beat down authoritarianism globally, whatever. So anyway, as a result, Anthropic and Claude got their claws into the Department of War, the Pentagon, really early. They were the only AI that was running on like the secure cloud that the Department of War uses. They were the only operating model that was sitting on there and doing that stuff. That was an agreement that went on for a while. They were early. They were very proud. They talked about this as part of their government work. They do lots of government work. But the first kind of like stirrings, according to the reporting, of there being an issue was there were reports that Claude, we got to dwell on this for a moment, Claude was used during the Maduro raid in Venezuela to abduct the president of Venezuela. Claude was used in like an operational environment. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm still sitting with this as like, what the hell were they using it for?
Yeah, I know. What is...
I think Claude is really good. Apart from...
Well, I to a certain extent, set you some homework of saying like, how are they using Claude?
Well,
I mean, coding, obviously, you get it. Okay, sure.
It never...
If they're using it in the, you know, devs who work on fucking planes and missiles and like whatever, it doesn't even matter. The internal systems, like there's lots of computer stuff going on.
Exactly. Department of War employs a shitload of coders.
Yeah.
Like people who like whether they're building internal websites or they're working on weapon systems or research or what, they're part of like the cyber war divisions, whatever. Yeah. There's a ton of people who are just like boring coders.
Yes.
And they would be obviously loving Claude. They would want to use it to use Claude code and whatever. The same way that developers at any organization would. But like that's slightly different from like live operational environment.
Yeah, the fact that it's pointed out that it was specifically mentioned, yes, it was used in the capturing of Maduro.
Nicolas Maduro, yeah.
Like,
so
how?
There's no reporting that says what it was used for in that instance. There has been reporting now about what it was used for in the attacks on Iran, which happened over the past week. And it kind of, the vibe I got, it was the Wall Street Journal, I believe, that reported on this, which was essentially like during the Iranian attacks, it was used for scenario planning. It was used for like data processing. So the idea is that like they get a bunch of data from like, you know, all different sorts of sensors and data collection stuff they use, and they fed it through Claude on some sort of workflow.
Yeah, I mean,
I get it.
Maybe to like structure data, because I can't imagine they're actually, you know, generating insights out of like shitloads of data, right?
Yeah, like
I assume it's like
you would
restructuring
hope
it.
You would hope it's not some like 4-star general who's like just getting a Claude digest of, you know,
census data and just being like, where's the best suburb to attack?
Yeah, well, where should I drop this?
I only say this because it's like they're famously not very good when you give it shitloads of data. Like, as in that whole idea of like AI, like machine learning is good at predicting if you've like trained a model on the data or whatever, but dumping a whole bunch of data into an LLM is not very good.
Yeah.
Like, as in, it's better than, it's useful. It's a useful tool or whatever occasionally, like maybe for some needle in the haystack stuff, but like it's not that good at reasoning when you give it like shitloads of data and pump up its context window. There's better tools for it, is basically what I'm saying.
Just to bring it up, Axios reported after the Maduro raid news broke that Claude was used during that. So the Wall Street Journal and Axios both reported on that. A senior administration official told Axios that the Pentagon would be reevaluating its partnership with Anthropic. This was mid-February, saying, quote, Anthropic asked whether their software was used for the raid to capture Maduro, which caused real concern across the Department of War, indicating that they might not approve if it was. So just like this idea that they are a contractor, they've built a tool for the DoD, and there's people being like, what did you use? Explain what you use it for in the Maduro raid. And the Department of War got a bit antsy because they were like, that's irrelevant to you. You're a contractor. Yeah. You shouldn't be asking what you're using your tooling for.
And we should go back to, sorry, you said earlier one of the things that they are using it for, or they use it for with Iran, was scenario planning. What we mean by that, I assume, is things like running situations by it and just getting feedback. Like basically brainstorming, right?
I would assume so. I mean, this is literally
if we do, like, here's the situation. If we did this, like, what do you think would happen? You know, like just using it for kind of brainstormy, like running ideas
so
past
vague.
it.
I mean, like, you know,
I assume, right?
I use Claude for scenario planning all the time.
But I assume that's what they mean, is like, here are the 3 different ideas that we're talking about. Go through the strengths and weaknesses.
Totally. Or like maybe they have, because I think the idea, like, they have a bunch of more sophisticated software that maybe has like a Claude plugin that runs a bunch of data through and produces some sort of outcome, probably towards that same end.
But
right?
That's what I mean. Like, I don't think that it's like they're using it. Same as like everyone uses a fucking iPhone. Like, they're not going to be able to juice that much more out of the model that we can, is what I'm saying.
Totally. Unless they have some special model, has some extra capability. I'm just like, because again, we've said it. I think these days, a lot of the cutting edge LLMs are really capable for all sorts of stuff. Graph code, whatever. But like, would I put them into that sort of environment? I don't know. I mean, obviously the eggheads at the Pentagon know more than I do, but it's like, what the hell are you doing with that thing? Yeah,
but back to your point, they got annoyed that Anthropic was a bit like, what are you doing with our model? Like, what are you doing with it? What are you doing with our tools? So since then, let's go to the next step in the equation.
So this was the stuff when you first started hearing stirrings that Anthropic, who, as we said, were very early to be used in these sort of protected environments within the Department of War in the US. There were concerns rising. So mid-February, the Pentagon confirmed that it was reviewing its relationship with Anthropic, and with the chief Pentagon spokesperson, Sean Parnell, saying, our nation requires that our partners be willing to help our warfighters win in any fight. The idea being that there was something that was coming up as a result of this. Now, this is when it started to emerge that Anthropic had basically drawn a line in the sand and said there were 2 things that the Department of War could not use Claude for.
Yeah.
And the 2 things were, you can't use it for mass domestic surveillance of US citizens. Other surveillance, fine, but no mass domestic surveillance of US citizens. And no use for fully autonomous lethal weapons. So the idea being, you cannot use Claude to fully command a system that has no human in the loop.
Yeah.
And just
take someone
autonomously
out.
Decides to kill people.
Yeah.
You need some guy being like, yay, nay. Nice little swiping interface, kill that guy, not kill that guy.
I think that's pretty reasonable.
I think it's reasonable. And Dario Amodei, CEO of Anthropic, has come out since and said Surveillance question is a fully red line.
Because I think that is technically illegal in the United States, right?
It is, yeah, totally. But, whatever. But we also know that Edward
happens.
Snowden, it happens. Yeah. It's been happening for a while.
Yeah. And we'll get back to the wording of like intentional surveillance and stuff in a minute.
Totally. Yeah. We'll get back to that. But
that's somewhat safe ground because I think it is technically illegal.
Yeah. Whereas the other one, fully autonomous weapons, his argument is not that he thinks that is evil.
No.
His argument is that he doesn't think Claude can do it.
Yet. Because it is like, at the moment, they don't fully trust the tools to be able to do it 100% of the time accurately. And when you're talking about life and death, it needs to be 100%.
Which totally, again, let's just dragging it back to the argument of like, why would you be using Claude?
Yeah.
If you had an autonomous weapon system that was just like feeding into a Claude API and I guess, I don't know, looking at images?
I mean...
Plus some like Claude.md files saying these are the people you can kill?
Yeah, exactly. Like, are they being sus, yay or nay? Okay, murk 'em. Like, that sounds... I mean, let's take this back a step. Yeah, as you say, like, removing because the systems aren't good enough. And to be fair, like, Dario may be... like using words to like weasel out of it or whatever, like because his argument is the law hasn't caught up yet. The law doesn't ban that yet. The law doesn't ban using autonomous systems in war to kill people, but we believe the law will catch up soon. It's just a bit behind. Regulation's a bit behind, so we're taking a stance here. I mean, more broadly, surely like the conversation should be: are we okay with autonomous weapons, autonomous systems determining if we should kill people or not? I think that most people would be uncomfortable with that as a concept in the court of law, for example. And in fact, like, I think it's pretty obvious that there's going to be issues with that.
Yeah.
Without getting too spiritual, like, I feel like we're getting to a fairly unholy place. I'm not a man of the cloth, but we're getting
we are men of peace.
We are men of peace. As a man of peace, when we decide to go down the path of like, let the machine determine what happens to the humans.
Exactly.
Like if they be locked up or if they be killed. I personally feel like that, just like pub test, red line.
Doesn't pass it. Yeah, I don't think
I think we should have human in the loop with that decision.
Yeah, humans got to... You need someone who can like, look themselves in the mirror and be like, what have I become?
Yeah. A
machine's never going to do that. You need a guy who has like a moral and spiritual crisis when he realizes he's a killer.
Yeah.
You need that.
There should be some psychological weight to it still.
Totally.
I think that that's reasonable, but that's not the conversation.
No.
The conversation isn't whether you should or shouldn't. The conversation is, are the tools good enough yet?
Exactly, which seems to be Darius coming from.
Which is like, with the implication being, when they do get good enough, then yes,
then it's fine, go wild. And I think it's probably worth mentioning what is the external pressure here is worth remembering is that there's a sense that it's like China is doing this, and then not having these arguments. I think that's like the arguments like they have, obviously China have...
But China aren't invading anyone yet. They're not invading anyone internationally.
I agree. But you would know this is kind of like the war-brained guys in the Pentagon are sitting around being like, they've got DeepSeek, they've got Moonshot, they've got all these...
Look, I know they've got a lot of good PhDs there, but could they really identify Taiwanese versus...
A great question.
I don't.
It's one for another podcast. It's one for another podcast. The idea is that, and you actually see this a lot. I've been frying my brain looking at the tech debate on X about this shit, largely between Americans. A lot of these like tech patriot right wing types.
Yeah.
Who are basically like, there was one of them. I can't remember which guy it was, but he's one of those guys. He always pops up. He was like, in China, if a company had put 2 red lines in the sand to Xi Jinping and said, you can't use it for these purposes, he would be thrown in fucking jail, and that would be the right thing to do.
This is another weird thing about Americans. Sorry, I know that whatever, like a lot, like 30% of you are American, but Americans do have this thing where they're like, the reason we're so successful is that our system isn't like China.
Yeah,
but then they go like, but also like, we should be more like China.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
pick a side.
Totally. I agree with that.
Sorry, like, not to get too political, but
I agree. But they all throw back to like during World War II when it was like full war mobilization. They used the war powers and they did basically the same thing. They essentially nationalized all these companies and service or whatever. And we should be thinking exactly the same way. But I agree. You get to the point where it's like, okay, well, why don't you like China? Because they are basically an authoritarian capitalist country.
Yeah.
What's the distinguishing feature here?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
Well, we should go to what happened. So this
was all bubbling up in the air. They had these two red lines in the sand. Last week, Pete Hegseth, Department of War, the Secretary of War, Defense Secretary, whatever you want to call it, he gave him a deadline of 5 p.m. on Friday to allow unrestricted use to Claude for all legal purposes. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, very funny that the deadline was just before the US started bombing Iran in joint operations with Israel.
Yeah.
Which is real funny. It's like 5 p.m. on Friday. It's like, dude, you got to sort this before you leave on Friday afternoon, before you head to the pub.
Yeah.
Because we're about to drop 25,000 tons of ordnance on Persia.
Yeah.
It's also funny that at the same time, and I think this is the undercurrent that's really funny, they're pissed off at Anthropic for being libbed out.
Yeah.
Being, these fucking fifth columnists who have their own weird culty beliefs that are anti-American, whatever. But there's also this thread that runs through of like, but unfortunately they have the best system.
But unfortunately they got the best models.
We want, no one is talking about Grok.
No.
And actually, I don't know if you read the Wall Street Journal post where it was basically like, not only does no one in the Department of War use Grok, they got like an order from up above to like put the XAI logo on like the website that like houses like their weird sandboxed AI system where like defense personnel can experiment with AI, to put the logo on it, but you can't actually use Grok in it.
Nice.
It's just like they had to put it in there for like, I guess, based signaling.
Yeah.
Like, we got Grok in here, boys.
We got Grok in here.
You get into this sandbox and there's fucking anime pornography.
Yeah. Grok obviously being Elon Musk's XAI thing.
Yes.
It's a funny time to be an American right winger, as I am. So again, Ben Thompson, who is very good on quarterly earnings, really good on quarterly strategy. But as soon as he strays outside his lane. But I'm just using it as an example. I don't mean to pick on him.
This is a strategery guy.
And great, as I said, great on business, but like, but he's like on the,
the Pentagon side.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is war. Like, you do what you're told in a time of war, blah, blah. I use him as an example of like the argument that you're hearing out of a lot of the slightly more, I guess, like, intellectual, not even intellectual, but like business-minded right who are mad about this is like, Anthropic's position is that an unaccountable Amadei can unilaterally restrict what its models are used for. It's like the CEO can like determine like what its product can and can't be used for. It's like that is very normal.
Like no one has an issue when it's like they put all the restrictions on using it for individuals used for biological warfare. Or
but like even like let's like just showing children in general, even though it's not illegal or whatever. Like no one has any problem with like. Companies all the time put restrictions on how their software can and can't be used.
Yeah, totally.
And like, not using like pornography is legal, but like payment processors are like, no, we don't want to do porn. We're not doing it. Like, but you just chuck the word unilaterally in there and make it like seem like this is,
I think at least I kind of vaguely respect the people who say, no, everything on Earth is downstream of military power, that we don't have rights, we don't have anything without military power. So at the end of the day, you just have to let it happen. If the military says jump, you say how high. I don't agree with that position.
But again, take that to its logical conclusion, and it's like you don't like the military dictatorships, though, do you?
No, exactly. So at this point, you're like, okay, fine. You agree with like an authoritarian military rule.
Like, what's your problem with the IRGC then?
Yeah, what's your problem with Iran? What's your problem with China? What's your problem with anything?
Yeah.
The fact there is a division between like civilian leadership and civilian governance and military governance is one of the fundamental principles of like the democratic West.
Yeah.
And if you throw that away, what the fuck do you have left?
Exactly. What's the point?
Yeah.
It's like, it's one way or the other.
Fine. You believe in total war, but it's like...
Whenever you want. Like, whenever the military...
Then you can't...
You're at the whims of whatever, like, the military or whatever wants.
Then do not cry when the government comes and, like, kicks your fucking DeFi protocol to pieces.
No, exactly.
Like if
or don't cry when like the government puts some DEI on your fucking business. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know,
or forces you to get the fucking jab.
Exactly.
Like, why do you care about any of that shit? You're against tyranny in some ways.
Yeah, but then like pro it. If it comes to like killing people, then you gotta back it. You know, when it comes to killing people, like overseas, like fuck you, sit down, shut up, lick
and
the
do
boot.
it. Kill the people overseas. To steelman their argument or play devil's advocate or whatever. To a certain extent, I think the AI labs may have brought it on themselves by being like, we are building what could be the most dangerous and evil product of all time.
Yes. Look, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Yes. And as we've said on Down Around before, and being like, we're building that and we are the ones who are responsible enough in order to control it. And it's important that we're the ones who decide how this thing gets used. Otherwise, shit can go crazy. I can understand from the perspective of government. I know the government doesn't have a perspective. It's like, no, you're not. And as someone, as we've said on Down Around, like as a member of the public who surely elects my government, we should decide what happens with the AI.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
not you, not some fucking independent company. So yeah, I totally get that as well.
Yeah.
Like it's fucking annoying that you're saying that holier than thou, only you have been ordained to control this new god.
This thing is as powerful as a nuclear weapon. It's like, well, if it's a powerful nuclear weapon, then
we should
the government should handle that.
It's
like we shouldn't put it in just because like you've like read a lot of less wrong posts.
Yeah.
You've read a lot of like the trolley problem posts.
You've thought about the trolley problem heaps,
and as a result, you should be allowed to like put some shackles on the digital god.
Yeah.
So
I totally get that.
That's the opposite, and I fully agree with that. But I also think the military using it for lethal purposes as part of like a national security thing. It's a different slice of that question. But
I mean, because Anthropic aren't even being that lived out. That's the irony of this. This is all kind of once again goes back to culture war signaling, right? Because it's like for the most part, Dario Amodei and Anthropic do seem to, or have a history of like basically agreeing with like American empire and saying,
they like that.
It's a innately
it's
a positive thing for the world,
and
they want to support it in every way. Couple of red lines with regards to don't spy on American people or use our systems autonomously. But because they are the most lived out of the AI labs, and because AI labs have become so political because of Elon Musk, then it does feel like this is an excuse basically to turn the fucking AI model you use into a cultural war issue as well.
Yeah, totally. And I think, look, this next bit, I think, feeds into it a bit as well. So this is the big news story that's sort of broken into the public consciousness that are having these arguments. Pete Hegseth put on this deadline, Friday, 5 p.m, to let us use it for whatever. They didn't get to that point. Anthropic put out a blog post basically saying we're not crossing our red lines. We're not giving up on those 2 points. So as a result, it was sort of a storm of activity from the US government. As you said, Trump did a big post, called them left-wing nut jobs. There's this Californian culture.
Radical leftists.
Totally. And Pete Hegseth designated Anthropic a supply chain risk, which was pretty crazy because
that is actually crazy.
It was a designation that had never before been applied to an American company. You're normally talking about Huawei. It's literally it's the sort of thing that gets Huawei designated.
Yeah. Like any contractor who's working with the US military, it's like you can't have as part of your supply chain to supplying us have used anything from this company.
Yeah. Which again, when you combine it with the fact that very clearly they want it and the rank and file Pentagon people want to use it.
Yeah.
And it also just throws this, and this is still what's being worked out, where it's like, is it only in instances where it touches Pentagon systems? Because, obviously Anthropic models run on Amazon, AWS.
Yeah.
And like their compute platform. And Amazon has deals with the Department of Defense. Same with Microsoft. They also run everything. Yeah. Can any company that does any kind of business with US Defense Department, US government, whatever, are they allowed to do it? Because, Huawei has been completely evacuated from the US system.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, Anthropic put out they sent an email to a press release to everyone saying this doesn't mean you have to stop using Anthropic. It just means that if you are doing something directly for the Department of War on that project, you can't use our products, but you can use it on all your other products. We'll see what happens.
Yep. So
I can't imagine unless you're literally like a direct, like your 100% of your money and revenue comes from like the Department of Defense or whatever, I can't see people gutting, like ripping Anthropic out of
No,
there.
totally. So, and also, I mean, this is my prediction as well. I think something will be worked out because it's a 6-month grace period they've set. All these Pentagon systems have 6 months to evacuate Claude from all their systems. I think something's going to be worked out between now and then.
Well, it's also like you want the best one, and if like historically they just are always there or thereabouts, that'd be crazy to remove it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into like the OpenAI angle for a minute, but can I just throw it out there? Like I hope this is not the case. I hope it's not the case that Qatar had just ripped out Anthropic and put Grok in there and they shot down those F-16s.
All right. Was I'm not sure it was Qatar, it was Kuwait or Bahrain. It was one of them.
I think, let's fact check. I thought it was Qatar who shot down the F-16s.
Kuwait.
It was Kuwait.
Kuwait shot, so it was three US F-15 Strike Eagle planes were shot down by Kuwaiti defense systems.
Accidentally.
And if they were using GPT or Grok, what if they had Llama 3 running on that shit?
What if it was Quen? We'd know it was Quen.
Yeah, the Quen was like, sorry, we installed a weird, like, fine-tuned Quen model and shot down 3 American F-15s. That'd be red hot. Anyway, so to be clear, it was February 27 that all this stuff flooded out. Trump posted, Hegseth, supply chain risk, Anthropic, name drag through the mud. These guys are described as, essentially an evil fifth column that was trying to bring down America with AI. February 28, one day later, everyone's favorite guy, Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, steps out and says, we've done a deal with the Pentagon. We've done a deal with the Department of War.
D.O. Dub.
Literally, within hours of this announcement, they announced this. Sam Altman came out and said, we've signed this deal. He did a big post on X and whatever, press release, and said that the deal contained the same 2 red lines. No mass domestic surveillance, no autonomous weapons. Of course, the immediate response was like, something cannot possibly be true here, because if you had the exact same red lines, it either suggests that you don't.
Yeah.
Or there's some like weird, the wording is strange, or there's like a legal loophole, or it suggests that the Pentagon just hated Anthropic and wanted them gone. Something weird has gone on here.
Yes.
Right? It turns out that basically the reporting suggested that the OpenAI had circuitously said that the Pentagon could use its tech for any lawful purpose. And they sort of used the argument that you were sort of alluding to before, where it was like, well, that stuff is illegal anyway. Yeah. Mass surveillance domestic is illegal, wink, wink. You can't do it. So fine. It's all good. Your promises are okay with us. Yeah. This was the message. Emil Michael, who's one of the Pentagon undersecretaries, used to be a bigwig at Uber and now works for the Department of Defense. He basically came out and was like, it's illegal anyway. Mass surveillance of Americans is illegal. So why would you put it in a contract? Why even bring that up? Why even bring that up? As we said before, we know, because of the Edward Snowden leaks, that stuff happened anyway. Yeah. Even though it was technically unconstitutional, illegal, whatever.
You don't want to be part of Snowden too if you're Anthropic.
So anyway, that's kind of where we landed. And the most recent...
Well, but I mean... Oh, sorry. You mentioned the most recent...
Well, actually, the thing that we should mention what came after it is that Claude kind of like... This is probably really ironic for the Claude guys. Boomed crazily. Like, it's had outages over the past 3 days. Yeah. Because it can't serve demand. Because there are a whole bunch of people who were just like... Basically anti-Trump people in the US were like, they're sticking it to Trump. I'm cancelling my ChatGPT subscription, signing up for Claude. Yeah, Katy Perry got on board. Katy Perry signed up to Claude Max. Katy Perry posted a screenshot of like the Claude fucking plan selector screen.
Like, it's like the Stripe page, basically. It's like the slightly skinned Stripe page for Claude with a love heart around it.
That's fucking crazy. A cultural moment.
Katy Perry, who I saw play at the AFL Grand Final 2 years ago.
Katy Perry, exactly.
Is currently posting screenshots of her signing up to an AI service with a love heart around it. How good!
Katy Perry, pregnant with Justin Trudeau's baby, is posting about
Young Castro.
Young Castro. Brendan with Fidel Castro's grandson. Or granddaughter, sorry. I don't actually know the gender of the baby. Yeah, that is crazy. And people were pointing out, someone was linking to stuff that like even in like really aggressively anti-AI communities, like Blue Sky-ish adjacent and like developer discords and like creative discords and whatever, people were like, if you have to sign up for one, if you must, make it Claude.
It's crazy.
And
it's
fucking
everything
nuts.
Is political.
Everything's political. Everything is just red tribe, blue tribe. Although it is funny that like Claude and Anthropic have established in this position where their customer base is enterprise and like big institutions and startups and whatever. And they're like, oh, all that consumer shit can be ChatGPT's problem. Now they're number one on the App Store for purely political reasons. And let's be clear, I think Claude, I love the like the Opus models and whatever. I think they're, for a wide range of use cases, better than the GPT models. But it's pretty clear, like, their app is buggy and shit. They don't put a lot of effort into it.
I think it's still Electron app.
The OpenAI app interfaces are better and more fluid and have more features and whatever. But now they're kind of like, fuck, now we've got all these randos. We've just lost the contract with one of the biggest customers you can have.
Yeah.
And we're getting a whole bunch of like
perverts.
Libs.
Yeah, whole bunch of consumers. I know, like they basically like exited it. Although we did talk about like their Super Bowl slot was like vaguely aimed at consumers.
No, it is. Like they clearly work. They're clearly interested in it.
Yeah, but they're interested in it. But it's like they're not doing images. They're not doing video, as we've said. They're not doing social. Obviously,
yeah, exactly.
They're just like not really interested in that kind of stuff because they pivot. They went full hearted enterprise, and yeah, now they've got. It's very funny. It's very funny. It's also like. Why do we have to make absolutely everything a culture war? Why is now the AI model that you ask, like, my friend said this thing to me, like, I was in the right? Like, why does that have to be political, like the interface to which I put that into?
At the end of the day, that's the only thing that AI offers. You need, like, the psychological backup that you were right about something.
I was right.
I was right. So, but anyway, the most recent update here, I'll just bring us up to speed on the current happenings, and then we can riff on it. But today, this afternoon, just before we record the podcast, Sam Altman did this big post on X where he reposted essentially an internal post he did on the Slack, I think, the OpenAI Slack, where he admitted the deal was rushed. The optics weren't great.
So again, bearing in mind context here that OpenAI are also like they came out of effective altruism as well.
Yeah,
like they are also at AI safety. Obviously, we've followed the complete timeline of them like moving further and further away from that. But still, there'd still be a significant number of, in particular, the people who've been there a long time who'd be very on board with that and have probably justified like, no, going into chat apps, Sora, doing social media, doing dating is still part of the mission to like for us to be the ones who win because we need to be the ones who win because AI safety and only we are the responsible. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, also there's still like an AI safety because like for recruiting as well, right?
That's what I was
if
about
you want
to say.
Cracked AI coders,
there is like an underlying fact that's weird is that not only are you throwing around hundreds of millions of dollars a head to hire top flight AI talent. You're paying them like NFL starting quarterback or packages rather, because a lot of it's equity. All these companies have to deal with the fact that these people want a mission. They want to feel like they're working on something meaningful, A. And B, a lot of them want to feel like they're doing stuff that's moral.
They're
like,
the good guys.
This
has always been the fucking case in Silicon Valley. You always... For the biggest psychos who are also happen to be the best at the ones and zeros, you got to have a higher purpose.
Exactly. This is not happening in investment banking.
No.
There's no guys in private equity who are like demanding that there be some like moral thrust to like them doing roll-ups or whatever.
Yeah, or high frequency trading or whatnot.
Exactly. And if one of those guys pops up, well, fuck him off. There's a million finance grads who can do that job.
Yeah.
Whereas here it's like there's actually a limited pool of these guys.
Yeah.
Who can figure stuff out, and they believe weird shit. And this is one of the reasons that every time you look at like, Meta is poaching these people, it's never Anthropic.
Yeah.
Because they are like the best at doing that side of things. And you can see there was a bit of unrest internally. There were OpenAI people posting on X openly that they thought this Pentagon deal was bad. And you have, like, Sam Altman said it, but the optics could not be worse.
No.
An AI company said, we are not stepping back from our red line to end our deal with the Department of War because we think that robots shouldn't kill people autonomously, and they shouldn't do mass surveillance of Americans. So we are stepping out of this deal. If they're going to designate us a supply chain risk, we'll sue them because we think it's bad, but we're out. Yeah. And then literally hours later, OpenAI said, we're just signed a deal. And people were like, what about that stuff? Oh, we same stuff, same
promise.
We agreed on the same things.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sam Altman came out and said, here's a direct quote, we were genuinely trying to de-escalate things and avoid a much worse outcome, but I think it just looked opportunistic and sloppy. Well, yeah, bro, it did actually look like that.
Look, we were just trying to smooth things over and just make sure everything was chill.
Yeah.
Maybe it came across as opportunistic.
Sure. So, and we
thought by us taking the deal, it would actually help Anthropic.
Yeah. So Sam came out and said, we are like lobbying the government not to designate them as supply chain risk, even though we don't agree with them and we think they're really strong rivals, we don't think they should be a supply chain risk. Great. It's still yet to shake out because obviously they're not posting the wording of the contract they did with the Department of War. But the two things they're arguing is that an explicit statement that the AI system should not be intentionally used for domestic surveillance of US persons and nationals. Again, slightly vaguer language than what Anthropic was talking about. Because here, actually, I should mention it.
No, this is important.
This is important. One thing that Anthropic seemed to be pushing on, particularly on that surveillance question, is he was like, we don't want you to be using like public corporate information and collating it in like a vast swirling pool and using it to derive insights about individual Americans. That was an interesting thing that Anthropic seemed to be worried about.
Yeah.
Is that either now or at some point in the future, these tools are going to be powerful enough that you can just dump a bunch of public information into them and it can spit out actual information about individuals.
Yeah.
Which I think is like, if you think it through in your head, you're like, well, obviously that's going to be possible one day. Once they have like large enough context windows to swallow up a bunch of information. Or whatever, a nice agentic harness to handle it. And at that point, it's like, the Pentagon's obviously going to do that.
Well, yeah, but again, yes. Back to the Sam Altman language, though. Like, what they harped on was, like, intentional, right? This is like, what was the actual wording around, like, intentionally?
Yeah, shall not be intentionally used for domestic surveillance of US persons and nationals.
People are kind of picking up on this, on the, like, intentionally. And that's like a weaselly word, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're absorbing so much data.
Yeah.
And like automatically deriving insights from it.
Yeah.
That it's like you're not directly targeting someone, but you're picking up a whole bunch of information. Which is basically like, this is the Snowden
So they do this
stuff.
all the time.
This is the Snowden stuff. Every packet of data or every bit they're just like swallowing it all.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's getting fed into some sort of ordering machine or whatever.
But like, there's always the excuse of like, well, we didn't intentionally get the data, but it turns out the data did make you like find you guilty or whatever. So we are now be able to use it. It's the same thing as like, I heard a gunshot and so the police broke into the house and they ended up finding drugs, but no guns.
Yeah, exactly. So the memo added that the department understands the limitation to prohibit deliberate tracking, surveillance, or monitoring of US persons of nationals, including through the procurement or use of commercially acquired personal or identifiable information. Again, this seems to give them a lot of latitude.
Yeah.
To be sleazy about it. And also they affirmed that the Defense Department had also affirmed that the OpenAI tools would not be used by intelligence agencies like the NSA specifically. And again, Altman says there are many things the technology just isn't ready for and many areas we don't yet understand the trade-offs required for safety. So, Anthropic did the same thing. This Weasley stuff around, we're trying to figure out what the guardrails should be to do this like crazy shit in the future, autonomous targeting, surveillance, whatever. And again, it all comes down to like these companies want to say, and this is where I find some agreement with like the freaks who say you should give everything to the military and just fucking give it. Because like to some extent I agree where it's like,
it's going to happen anyway.
It's like, and do you want to put all that power in the hands of Sam Altman, Dario Amodei, because, as you said, they've read they've read so many articles.
Yeah. No, it is true that, like, at the end of the day, we do want the government to be the most powerful entity in our countries, one would hope.
One would hope. I mean, many people would say no. You know, your Balaji's, Srinivasians and whatever. Actually, there was a line about this. Sam Altman had it in his post. I think it's actually really interesting.
Like, obviously, there's a line, right? Because, as I said, this is, I guess, the democratic line. It's like, what level of kind of government oversight do you want? How much power should an individual have? How much power should a business have? Can a government compel a business to, like, use its... But this is why we have, like, wartime powers, right? Like,
yeah,
I don't think the government should be able to, personally, compel a business to do something that it feels like is morally reprehensible. Although, you know, sometimes I think the flip side is true. You got to follow the laws of the government in the place that you're in.
That's what Elon says. You must obey the laws in the territory in which you operate.
But what about, like, when the law was that, like, you couldn't send people to work because of COVID?
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't a big fan of that. Yeah. Oh, sorry, this was the line from Sam Altman, which he posted on X. He was like, there is more open debate than I thought there would be, at least in this part of Twitter, about whether we should prefer a democratically elected government or unelected private companies to have more power. I guess this is something people disagree on, but ... I don't. With the obvious suggestion that he thinks, because he's a fucking lib.
Yeah,
Let's be honest. He's a fucking Democrat voting San Francisco living lib who right now has to sort of like pantomime that he likes Trump.
Yeah.
To be in on this Pentagon deal, to like get the investment, to have Trump stand next to him and announce their fucking data center projects. But it's pretty clear the suggestion there is that he thought the government should be the ultimate authority.
Yeah, but you still can't compel a business to do what they want.
Yeah.
Like, you can, like, as in say, like, you must use your business in order to achieve this outcome. You can say, you can ban things for being illegal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you as a business are not allowed to do these things. But compelling a business, to me, that does cross like a democratic red line.
Yeah.
You know, find someone else then. You know, like, if you have... It's fucking capitalism here, you know, like, if you have a business need, if you have demand for a product, then surely you'll find a company that will fulfill that demand and you'll pay them the market rate to fulfill that demand. If one company can't fulfill that demand or refuses to fill that demand, then you find another one. That's the market at work.
Totally. And I think, it does come to this at the end of the day for most businesses that's so obvious, but partially for the default of these AI labs is they have said, as we said before, we're building the digital god. We're building something that is worse than nuclear weapons. We have created a scenario where we have the top minds that we've imported from not only like America's top universities, but also like Chinese and Indian nationals who we've brought over to work at these AI labs. And we are building the scariest shit in the world. And we think it's so scary that we don't even know if we're going to be able to like stop it from ravaging the economy.
Yeah.
As we said before, for the government to be like, no, you shouldn't be.
But that's different. Like, if a government wants to say that, fine. I mean, I personally think it's all bullshit, but like, and no, sorry, it's AI is very useful. It's going to have a fundamental impact on the economy, but I don't think they're creating a digital god, personally.
Okay.
Could be proved wrong, whatever, been wrong before. But like, if the government wants to come in and just be like, nah, Bernie style, you know, he's like...
Nationalize it
or put a stop to it for now. We're pausing it until we work out what's going on.
You know? Figure out what's going on. But you think it's different. It's like, you must build this as like a weapon against China or whatever.
That, like, you've crossed a line there.
Yeah.
That is like, at least within, I think, our paradigm. Like, in China, you probably can do that. Yeah. But again, isn't the whole thing you don't want to be in?
The argument would be is like, we did this during the World War II, War Powers Act, you know, total war. We consigned like the Ford factories and like all the different factories to building munitions and vehicles for the war and tanks and all that sort of shit. We did all that. And now we're living in like a weird gray zone war environment where there's like proxy wars and cyber and all this sort of shit going on. Again, I'm not justified. I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm still man in the argument. I do get it in that sense. But yeah, we also, because of the political division or whatever, I feel like there's always going to be people who say, the Katy Perrys of the world, who go, yeah, fuck no.
Yeah.
You know, I'm an American voter and I think this should not happen.
And I'm going to show that off the best
By
way an
signing up for
American knows
Claude
how.
Max.
That's why I'm going to buy an annual subscription.
To be clear, I don't think Katy Perry signed up for Claude Max, which is the $200 a month.
Oh, no, you're right. It was just Pro.
It was Pro, which is a very, very comfortable $20 US. Well, the number one thing is this has thrust Claude into like the public consciousness, especially in the US, in a way that their Super Bowl ad didn't.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who are like, yeah, I'm Claude build because they said fuck you to the Trump administration. Very based, very epic.
Yeah.
So that's funny. And now OpenAI have again been sort of tainted.
Once again, Altman has kind of put his foot in it with a tweet.
And also it's kind of like, it took a real long time for like, maybe less so with Microsoft, but certainly companies like Google, Amazon, definitely Microsoft to extend, a lot of other startups, like they've gone a long time before they become institutionalized and part of like the man, where they're like attached to the government, defense department. These companies are just speedrunning this shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not only are they like making these deals really early, they are like proudly on the pointy end of like the military apparatus.
Yeah, but it is just because of zeitgeist. Again, as you've said, like when Woke 2 comes along, what are they going to do?
What are they going to do? Like, Anthropic is very well positioned for Woke 2.
Yeah.
You got another Democratic administration. I mean, here's another thing. Meta, don't get me wrong, Meta has had its share of controversies and been like dragged into political debates. They've never had like a Department of Defense.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, what would they possibly?
I don't know.
Are they walking into the Pentagon and be like
metaverse stuff? Maybe. Well,
yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Like
you do a little bit of metaverse,
bit of like goggles on, like
exactly,
like VR stuff.
For training. I think because Microsoft have their
they got the holodeck. What's that?
Holo something. They have their own headset. Which they use in like industrial and military and whatever contexts. HoloLens, yes. So they've got that. So yeah, good on you, Mark Zuckerberg, for not getting dragged into these sort of debates, even though you are based now. Although, I don't know if you saw him was it the Prada runway?
Yeah.
They've de-swagged him.
I know.
I know it's only one photo.
No.
And it was also high fashion, but he's not sort of dressed as like a swaggy white boy rapper anymore.
But I think he thinks he is, maybe. This is a problem. He got a little too hot. He flew too close to the sun.
Yeah, and I think maybe, does this signal a new vibe shift, Mark Zuckerberg dressing in like...
Front row at the Prada.
In like a long sleeve...
Kind of cashmere polo thing.
And he had like weird fucked up leather shoes. He had like...
it didn't look good.
Nice pair of... It wasn't a good look.
Well, like, let's be honest. White boy swag Mark Zuckerberg came out of someone doing an old school Photoshop of him and him copying it.
Yeah.
Right? And since then, he's started to turn up or whoever's advising him is like
you got to go to high
turn up the dial.
shows.
Like, let's turn up the drip. Like, let's turn up white boy summer.
Yeah.
To the point where he's now front row at Prada. And once again, he's talking about the fucking grilled meats. It doesn't look right. It ain't right.
I don't know. I haven't seen any MMA Zuck for a while.
No,
he's
right.
He's not out. He had that weird mea culpa media tour where he was like, I'm not woke anymore. I'm actually a bit based.
That's right, yeah.
But he's not said any of that stuff since.
Yeah.
I suspect it's just...
He's in the wilderness.
Honestly, I think it's literally just like they look at the Trump administration approval rates. They know the midterms are coming. They're like, we need to be properly positioned for whatever might come. God, that's a fucking... miserable existence to like have a base turn and for it to last like 11 months.
And then just retreat.
Retreat
to a Prada runway.
Sorry, yeah, exactly. That is dangerously close to like 2010's Facebook. If he showed up at the Prada runway in like 2015, people would be like, whoa!
Yeah.
We out here.
Look, having to navigate this crap, I would wish it on my worst enemy.
I would, yeah, no, totally. Anyway, the one other point I was going to make, which I thought was funny, is that I posted this in the Down Round Discord, but I think it's something that someone should do, is that there's all these arguments about Anthropic and OpenAI and providing lethal weapons of war and the future of AI and autonomous weapon systems. We fucking need the AI skeptics to rise up and make themselves known in this debate and be like, bro, Pete Hegseth, you just signed up. You just made someone a supply chain risk for running fucking autocomplete. For running fucking spicy autocomplete that doesn't even fucking work.
How much are you paying them?
How much are you paying?
I am using my citizens' rights to sue the government for wasting money on this bullshit.
This bullshit that literally does not work.
Yeah, stand up and be accounted for.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I'd be the Patriot version of that, which is like, I would prefer my autonomous weapons to work.
I prefer deterministic autonomous weapons.
Yeah, exactly.
How about a bit of if this, then that, you know?
Anyway, on the other side of the paywall, folks, we're talking about, I mean, it's a little bit more AI, but as I flagged at the top, we got layoffs in Australia, globally. Going to give us an excuse to talk a bit about Jack Dorsey and Block, which we haven't talked about in a little while. So if you're curious about those companies, or that company.
Or AI and job loss in general, like, let's be frank, more than just if you're curious in Block, because let's be honest, like, what percentage of our free listenership is curious about Block?
Afterpay.
There's probably Afterpay. There's probably a few of you who are employed by Block.
Hey, any title listeners
there
out
might
here?
actually be. It's not a laughing matter. Some of you may have been laid off by Block. We've got a pretty decent listenership.
I think we do have a few block listeners.
So if you have been laid off, honestly though, that sucks. Although pretty good payout. We'll get into it in the next episode.
The payout's solid. I don't give a fuck about you at all. Anyway, on the other side of the paywall, we'll see you again. If you're not subscribed to Downround, head to downround.net. Subscribe to Downround Premium. We'll see you on the other side.